Welcome back to the Certified Fangirl podcast. Today I'm joined by Terra from Feed Our Children Now, a nonprofit closely connected to the iconic Vans Warped Tour. We talk about how music and community have helped fight childhood food insecurity, turning fan support into real change for children in need. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Terra. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Certified Fangirl podcast, where we celebrate fandom, spotlight the people behind the music, and bridge the gap between fans and the music industry. I'm here with Terra from Feed Our Children Now. So, yes, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Feed Our Children Now.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Terra. I am the tour manager of Feed Our Children Now, donating to Feed Our Children Now. And then once I was old enough, I began volunteering in the mornings and then kind of moved up from there doing volunteer coordination, charity coordination, and now I manage the day-to-day of the charity.
Awesome. And how long did you say you've been with the organization?
15 years.
And you said you started volunteering. When did you start, actually working for them full time?
Ooh, that's tricky. So we have had tour managers in the past that were going out on the 39 city tour run for Vans Warped Tour. And I didn't do that until 2019. That's when I first
Okay.
started going out. And I think at that point it was already I think we did 3 cities that year. It was 2018 or 2019. We did California, Ohio, and New
Yeah,
Jersey.
New Jersey.
And that's kind of when I jumped on.
Okay. So, for starting with the anniversary kind of
Yeah.
legs of the tour. Do you wanna talk about the organization's mission?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we were created in 2007 just to kind of help fill the void that exists with food insecurity during the summer months. So during the school year, kids can have access to free or reduced lunch, and they're getting 2 out of 3 meals a day and sometimes snacks. Those meals being nutritionally balanced and substantial for kids who aren't getting 3 meals a day. So during the summer months, there is a little bit of disparity when it comes to that, just because there are programs like Meals on Wheels, but they're not all funded by their state. So we wanted to kind of help bridge the gap that exists in those summer months with kids just not having access to food. So that's kind of where the idea came from, to start doing food drives, partnering with local charities and pantries to kind of help distribute that food so that it was getting out, and the food insecurity faced by so many kids was less of a mountain and more of a hill.
Okay. And, by being involved in this, you've really seen, a difference, of what these kind of organizations can do, right?
Definitely, definitely. So most of the charity partners that we work with, so we have a different charity partner or a food bank, food pantry in every city that we go to. They typically have, not like soup kitchen hours, but they have certain days of the week they have prepared foods where the meals are already made. And then the majority of the time, it's kind of just giving them access to the pantry. So you can go in and say, I have 3 children, I need groceries, and they give you, access to go and shop for all this food. A lot of them, because they're not state funded and they don't have certain grants, they have a hard time keeping those pantries stocked. And obviously in recent years, especially after COVID with inflation and stuff, it's even more difficult, and people are in need of food, but again, there's too much demand. So being able to kind of replenish their reserves just to make sure that there is food in the pantry and the shelves aren't bare has been huge, because there are not a lot of programs that do what we do in the time frame that we do it. It's huge around the holiday season to donate food to food pantries, but in the summer months, it's kind of just a forgotten thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense because the kids are kind of taken care of by the school and are funded for the most part. I feel like they still have, where kids can get the free lunches, for most schools, but I remember when I was in school, there were kids that had, the free lunches
Yeah.
if they were, under, a certain socioeconomic level. I hope that that's still a thing in all the states. I don't know if they had been kind of arguing to take that away or not, and how that's working with, government funding and everything, but, yeah, I can see how, with the summer,
Yeah.
so you're kind of on your own. You don't really think about those things unless they affect you, but working, I'm sure, in that space, you really are more hyper aware of what's going on and the things that are happening, like, with the children who need the
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
yeah.
huge I didn't know about it. So our charity's founder, Lana, she's actually an art teacher, and the idea kind of came to her because she realized doing, lessons and stuff that the kids couldn't really concentrate because they were hungry. And she doesn't have kids herself, so she had never really been
Yeah,
exposed to that. And just from kind of
yeah.
talking with them, she realized there's a bigger issue here. And so that's how kind of she created this amazing nonprofit.
Amazing, but also, yeah, I would have been taken aback as well, why aren't you guys paying attention what's going on and finding out that they're hungry?
Yeah.
That's
It's
oh my gosh,
heartbreaking.
that's a whole other yeah, I would be devastated. So you said you grew up going to Warped Tour, and donating to Feed Our Children Now as they were, like, up and coming within the tour, right?
Mhm.
So what drew you to this particular cause? Because there are a lot of nonprofits that work with Warped Tour, but what was it about Feed Our Children Now that really, like, spoke to you?
So I think that I grew up a Girl Scout. So philanthropy is kind of in my DNA at this point. At the time, whenever I kind of got on board with Feed Our Children Now, I had just kind of got into the music scene. I didn't want to do as much stuff with Girl Scouts because I was kind of becoming a teenager, coming into my own. And so Feed Our Children Now being just kind of at the forefront. Obviously, we set up everything outside because we collect all of our donations before doors. So I
Mhm,
would always see the tent and it had appeal to me just because I was like, well, I want to make a difference. I can bring 3 cans of food or $5 or we used to take cell phones, old cell phones as well, which is a thing of the past now, but again, it's very accessible. It's one of the things that had the most appeal to me was just that people always talk about like, I should do more charity work. I should give back. But for many people, it is very inaccessible. They don't have the money or they don't have the time or they don't have maybe the physical aptitude to be able to volunteer if it's, there's lifting required or standing on your feet or whatever it may be. So Feed Our Children Now is just very accessible and it made it look um, very accessible, just anyone that wanted to volunteer, and I liked that. I liked the inclusivity of it, and I liked the ease of it. The
mhm,
way that participation is just, like, ingrained in people's minds when it comes to Warped Tour. Everyone comes with their cans, and I love that, and so I think that they had already built up a pretty good reputation, I think, by the time I kind of jumped on,
mhm.
in 20 I think it was probably around 2010 or 2011. I mean, that's the biggest thing to me was just that and it being outside as well too. It's not in this sea of tents inside, with all the other nonprofits. They were outside. I was like, "Why are they the only ones outside? That's interesting."
Yeah, they definitely stand out, um, among all the other nonprofits, but that's a really good point, just having that, like, visibility, to people who may not, like, know how to give back in a certain way. The 3 cans yeah, the 3 cans, donating those is so synonymous with Warped Tour at this point. My first Warped Tour was actually 2007, and I had given cans my whole my whole warped existence. I'd given cans every year, and then I do remember the asking for the cell phone as well back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like going to my friends and I would, like, go to Target and try to, like, we would buy 3 cans and, take it to the tour the next day or even the morning of, we would, like, stop by, be like, "Oh, we forgot our cans. We, like, need to go donate." And then in exchange, we'd get the front of the line wristband, but also I feel like it meant more to people than just like, "Oh, I'm getting to be in the front of the line." Like, I'm actually helping people as well, and I feel like people underestimate I mean, Warped Tour I feel like this was, predominantly teenagers. I feel like people underestimate how much, young people can care about a cause.
Mhm.
And I think that people really, really did actually care about giving back. In addition to receiving the front of the line pass, I think that they really did care as well. And I'm sure you saw that throughout the tour
Mm.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because the wristbands, we would run out sometimes and we would just kind of have to make our
Mm.
own or we used stamps one year.
Uh-huh.
In the past since Warped has kind of relaunched, The wristbands are actually really cute now, but before they were kind of just
Mm.
like these little paper they weren't very unique. It's so
Yeah.
funny to me that everyone wanted the wristband. It's because of the access that it gave you to the venue, but I think it is more of an incentive now just because they're kind of like it's memorabilia in a way. You know, they're these commemorative, cute wristbands
Mhm.
now. But
Yes.
I love the change that it's made as far as bringing philanthropy and charity work to the forefront and making it more accessible to young people. You know, if you wanna go to concerts, like, why not do some good while you're there?
Yeah, and I find that, like, more so nowadays, a lot more nonprofits and organizations are partnering with bands or with venues to kind of give back, whether it's, signing people up to vote or whether it's kind of doing, like, a food bank. I'm seeing a lot more of that or, just anything to kind of give back, like, "Hey, I'm already here, and I care about others, I care about community," and I feel like, especially in the alternative music scene, people are really community based.
Yes.
So I think that they're more inclined to want to help each other and pick each other back up and help those who don't don't have the same access to food or shelter or water or whatever it is. And I think that, like, yeah, the Warped Tour is a great place to have that visibility, like we said. So how do you feel like that the partnership between Warped and Feed Our Children now, how do you feel how has it evolved over the years from your perspective?
Ooh, so our founder, Lana, she, was friends with Kevin and she got this idea for the charity and needed to kind of kick it off quick. And she called Kevin and said, "Hey, I know you have that tour thing that you do up here in New Jersey. Can I do an event at it?" And he said, "Well, what's it for?" And she said, "Well, I just want to raise food. I want to do a canned food drive." And he said, "Yeah, definitely, for sure." And we did that one that year. And then I think 8, we did maybe, like, 3 or 4 cities, kind of just in the
Mhm.
Northeast, and I don't know if it was 2009 or 2010, I think 2009. At that point, Kevin said, "This is great. We can do a really good thing. You guys have a great I'm very receptive to it. Everyone that comes out to the tour is very receptive to it, like, just jump on. We'll put you, on a bus with another nonprofit or another band or another sponsor, and we'll make it work." And so, from the beginning, it kind of happened pretty quickly, but the way that it's grown, I think that that is the most special part, just that it is like you said, we're kind of synonymous, as far as just bringing the cans just whenever you think of like, "Okay, I gotta lay out my outfit, get my sunscreen, get the cans for the charity." I love that. I absolutely love that. We've definitely gotten a little bit bigger,
Mhm.
for the last 3 events that we did last year, we did have a space inside with the other nonprofits, kind of just to talk about what we do, answer questions, um, take donations for T-shirts or memorabilia, other things like that. But prior to that, we would be outside the gates in the morning collecting food, and then we would pack up, and we didn't have a presence inside. We were kind of just the morning charity, outside the gates. And so now being able to have that space indoors and be able to talk to people about food insecurity, and the disparities that children face, just being from different socioeconomic statuses, and then our charity partners and what we do. It's really nice because not that we need a platform, but I think people they're like, "Yeah, I've
It's
seen you
helpful.
guys. You've been here for years, but I've never really talked to you. Like, where does all this stuff
Yeah.
go? Where are you putting all the food?" And so it's really nice to be able to have that um, community and be able to talk to everyone about it. Because I think everyone has questions naturally, when it comes to,
Yeah.
well, what are you doing with all this? These 30 tons of cans.
Like, who are you? What is this? Why am I giving you food? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you get kids just coming up to you and being like, what is this? What's going on? But that's great. They're asking questions. They're interested in what's going on, and it's not just like, okay, here you go, bye, and then not even having any kind of like follow-ups or inquiries about like how this is affecting or could affect, the community, other people, etc. And I'm sure, like, in the mornings you see everybody they're fresh and they're ready to go to the Warped Tour, so they're all in a good mood and they're just like ready to go as well, so you get like the morning shift of people
Yeah.
being happy and not exhausted at the end of the night.
It's so true.
Yeah. So when you were volunteering Did you go across the country or were you just volunteering at like certain dates back like when you started?
So when I first started, I was doing just Atlanta. So I'm based in Atlanta. And then I began doing volunteer coordination, and pretty quickly, I think maybe a year in, the way that we kind of had it split up was that there was myself and then another volunteer coordinator. So there was one for the West Coast and one for the East Coast, just so we didn't have to deal with time discrepancies and everything. So
Right.
I did all of the East Coast as far as managing the volunteers and kind of getting everything in line with the charity and Franny, our tour manager at the time. So I ended up doing most of the East Coast dates whenever I would go out. I started small in Atlanta and then Nashville, Raleigh, and then picked up, all the Florida dates. And so it kind of just grew into something, but I wasn't ready to go out full time yet. So it was
Mhm.
kind of my baby step working up because it is exhausting doing the same thing every day, early hours, lots of heavy, heavy load ins. And yeah, but I kinda baby stepped my way up to it. City by city, I added
Yeah.
on the itinerary.
'Cause I'm like, yeah, if you're volunteering and you wanna be gone for a whole maybe you have a job that you have at home and you wanna go across the country for a summer. It's like some jobs might not be, super into that kinda time off, so
Mm,
understandable why you'd only do, like, 1 or 2 dates here and there or just start it just do Atlanta for the beginning portion.
it's so true. One of our
So, yeah.
previous tour managers, he's still with the charity now. You could call him my co-TM. He's a school teacher, and so he's off for the summer. He's like, "I'll go out for whatever date you want me. I'm there."
Perfect. Oh my gosh. Yeah, school teachers, that's perfect. Like, that works out. You can do all of Warped Tour and you can go back to school and, maybe tell your class about your fun adventure over the
Yeah.
summer. So that works out amazingly. And I'm sure you all were so strong, like lifting all of those cans.
We've learned through the years. We've learned not to put they can't be cardboard boxes because they break. They have to be supported with a
Yeah.
pallet. They can't go in the mud.
Mhm.
We've gotten
Yeah.
many U-Hauls, Penske trucks, charity trucks stuck in the mud at various
Mhm.
venues. But trial and error, yeah, that stuff is heavy. It is very, very heavy. When you're talking about 3 cans per person, it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
a lot, but the number of people that we have that donate to us, it's a lot. And even now, the capacity for Warped Tours only grew. We were less than 30 cap venues and now we're 80,000 people plus. That's a lot of cans for every person just to
Oh
bring
my
1
god.
can, but they're bringing 3 each. That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
That's very heavy.
Yeah, that's when you partner with these different locations to give them the food, like, do you meet with just the people that are running the certain organizations? Like, when you're in DC and you go and you give do you see the children as well, or are you just kind of giving it to the organization and then you kind of drop off and go, or do you get to, like, see the impact in real time?
So it varies. Whenever we used to do the full tour, the 39 cities, the
Uh,
charity would not be present. We were all very volunteer heavy as far as what we supplied, and the charity
mhm,
would come out after 1 or 2 o'clock. They would bring some of their
mhm,
volunteers and we would kind of load up the food and they would go. There was much
okay,
less crossover and overlap, which is why we needed a charity coordinator at the time to just kind of have those
mm,
conversations to get everything lined up. But now we have a much more involved role with the charity partners. So they come out with us and they are out all morning taking donations, kind of help managing how they want things set up and figuring out, when they need to leave to go run a load back to their headquarters. So, like Bread for the City, which is our DC
mhm,
charity partner, they only had access to so many trucks and we collected a lot of food there. So they were having to kind of load up the truck full, leave, go drop off the food, and then come back and do another. And they were on rotation with that all day. Some of the volunteers that came within their charity are people that have been impacted with food insecurity. For the most part, we got a lot of adults, and we have some kids. We allow children and under 16 to volunteer with us with like a permission
mhm,
form. I think for the most part, the people that are using the food pantry services are not the people that are coming out to collect the food.
mhm,
I know whenever we kind of got because we weigh the foods before they leave or after they get to where they're going at the charity headquarters, and we'll kind of double check, because we want to know what volume of food we're doing, because that helps tell us, what volume of people are participating and donating. The food in DC, within 3 days, they had distributed all of it. It was gone.
Mm.
It was the same way in Long Beach, our charity partner there. Within a week, they had processed all the food, just because there are things that slip through the cracks as far as expired food, rusted or dented cans, things like that we don't really want to put out and might not be safe. So they do process the cans and make sure they're safe for consumption. But again, there within a week, the food was all gone. And then
Yeah.
in November in Orlando, it went out very quickly as well. They actually were short on budgeting that was just prior to Thanksgiving, and more people were in need of, food, because they wanted to not host a Thanksgiving meal, but they wanted to have a good meal. They were
Yeah.
very low on funding, because at this point, I think SNAP and WIC and all of those kind of supplemental food programs, they were all on pause at the time. And so people were scrambling, trying to find a food pantry or food bank that had a good volume of food. And so the food went out very, very quickly there as well. So it's sad. We always, we're like, well, can you handle this much food? Do you have a need for it? Do we need, a secondary partner to kind of share it with? No.
Mm-hmm.
The need is there, it exists, and it is, before, basically, as it hits the shelf, it's out the door, unfortunately.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Because it's like once it's out of your hands, we're like, where is all this going? What's going on? How does the exchange work?
Yeah.
And then when you guys aren't, well, I mean, because Warp Tour ended, well, the cross country ended in 2018, and then it was like the anniversary show, and then we had COVID, and then now we're back 2025, 2026, which is a great like place for Feed Our Children Now to be. So when you're not on the Warp Tour or doing those shows, what other ways do this like year round when you're not at Warp Tour?
We have not found a decent way to kind of stay involved outside of Warped Tour. We've worked with a few
Mm-hmm.
other artists and done little short tours and stuff, partnering with people. We do continue to do drives, either small canned food drives or coat drives, shoe drives, definitely still in the community and stuff. But as far as doing something on a large scale like Warp Tour,
Yeah.
it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. They've just been such an amazing partner to us. And Kevin and Belle and Nathan and kind of everyone within the Warp team, they just believe in us so much and give us so much, not necessarily freedom, but they just have a lot of faith in us. And we've never wanted to expand or look for partnerships outside of Warp Tour because of that.
Yeah, they've kind of given you this amazing platform, and like we mentioned earlier, like being synonymous with the Warp Tour, everyone knows about it, and it's such like a cool thing to be attached to. But when you said you guys do drives, like other parts of the year, is it all based in Atlanta or is it in a
No,
different
no.
location?
So we've done a few things as far as where our team members are at, because our team members are kind of spread out,
Mm.
Ohio, New Jersey, Texas, California, like we're kind of all over the place. So we've done little events here and there. The majority of like the stuff that we do, it takes place up in Camden, just because that's where we're based out of. And it's where all of our stuff is, as far as like the branded tent tops and tablecloths and stuff, so that we have that representation whenever we go out. So the majority of it is in Camden or Philly.
Okay. So people who live in that area, they can kind of um have like more access to helping your organization if they wanted to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We love whenever we get messages and people say, I want to do this food drive, or I want to do a coat drive, or I want to do this. And if, we have the time and hands to help, let's do it. And we just don't keep something on our calendar other than Warped Tour, but we do like to jump on, little pop-up events here and there as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure, like, preparing for Warped Tour is a lot, preparing in advance, making sure you have all of, like, staffing, volunteers, like, the correct supplies, like, travel, like, everything to kind of get you situated for that, and I'm sure you're already kind of doing that right now to prepare for the summer, for DC at least, and I don't know what your time frame is, but I'm sure it's a lot of preparation goes into it.
Thankfully, whenever I jumped on, I was just a kid, and
Yeah.
everyone else that was already working within the charity, they were also kids. And I was like, how are
Yeah.
we all just do it? This is blind leading the blind. And that was about 15 years ago. That's whenever I met Lana, who founded the charity. She did what she does with all of us and took me under her wing and said, this is our nonprofit. This is how we work. Let me show you everything down to, this is how you speak to a partner. This is how you speak to a charity or a potential volunteer. This is, our insurance that we have to carry for the event. This is our relationship with Warped Tour, and this is the kind of verbiage that we use because, we're a nonprofit. We can't sell things. We take donation, just everything that went within it. And it wasn't unique to me at all. I wasn't the only one she did this with. Every single person, that has ever worked with our charity has been mentored by Lana, and she has taught us all how to run the charity, how to keep it thriving, everything that goes into all that behind the scenes stuff, all the unfun stuff that has to be done to prepare for it. She taught us all that, and it's a lot, but it's kind of second nature now as far as a checklist that's ever long and ever growing in my head of, well, this is what I need for the DC event. And then after that, I've got to jump into Long Beach. And then we've got Canada. And so it is a lot to prepare for. Thankfully, I
Yeah.
had a very, very, very good teacher, very kind, patient teacher.
We love
And
that.
then obviously our team, we're all friends. We love each other very much. We're like a family, battling all of this together. And we all kind of have our niche little areas that we kind of know everything about, and
Mhm.
just all these pieces to the puzzle, and we just kind of fit together.
No, it's perfect. I love the teamwork. It sounds like a beautiful kind of coexistence together. But as tour manager, you said that's your current role with the
Mhm.
organization. Yeah. So do you do the bulk of, like, the planning when it comes to, like, the Warp Tour and everything, and how you go about those going around the particular dates?
Yeah. So I don't directly oversee a few things just because we have people on our
Mhm.
team that kind of help do that. So I'm not over
Yeah.
volunteer coordination anymore. I do have a hand in it, but I don't oversee it. Same with charity partnerships. I am full on when it comes to communicating with van staff. Um, as far as getting everything we need, getting our graphics, getting all the van stuff, making sure we get our announcements out on time. Obviously, we're under contract as a partner, so I have to do all the contractual things that we're obligated to do, keeping up with all the insurance, and then managing my personal team. So making sure that we have lodging accommodations, getting airfare booked, and travel, making a budget for, are we going to stay so close to the venue that we can walk? Or do we need to get a taxi or an Uber or rent a car? A lot of it is very, very heavily budgeting because obviously, we have to have bodies out there. A lot of them are volunteers who are local, thankfully, but there is a lot of checking boxes and making sure that we're doing what we need to stay fully staffed, but then also not bleeding money because we're not there to make money, but the money that we make, we have to put back into the charity to keep it going because we only do the events, so many months of the year, or we only do so many a year now, with it not being a full cross country tour. So it's a lot of give and take to stay afloat for those winter months whenever we're not fundraising or doing community events and stuff like
Yeah, from, like, December to May.
that.
Yeah, that's a pretty big gap because then right then you're doing DC and then Long Beach and then Montreal and then, like, so yeah, it just keeps
Yeah.
keeps kinda going. You have, like, a gig every month.
Yeah.
to kind of keep you afloat, especially this year because it's they added the two international dates,
Right.
so that's more to kind of help you out with that. And what time are you usually getting to the venue? Like, what time do you guys set up and everything?
It varies. We used to just go out the morning of, and that was really nice. We had early mornings, but we've been partnering a lot with other, mostly within vans. I mean, like they did for a couple of the cities, they did the pop-up event for the merch the day
Mhm.
before. And so we went out for that just because of the high volume of people. Obviously, if we're doing, 85,000 people, they can't all come through general admission walking by our tent at the same time because it's gonna bottleneck. Everyone's funneling into one thing. So Warped approached us and they said, "Hey, what if you guys came out and did this merch pop-up event with us and you started taking donations for Saturday, but you'll take them on Friday and you can go ahead and give them their wristband just so they can kind of skip on by tomorrow." Just trying to help negate the risk of overcrowding in certain areas when it came to venue access, which again has a lot to do with a lot of behind the scenes stuff, fire marshal, how many bodies can be in one place at one time. So we started kind of trickling down and kind of setting up earlier and earlier to the point that now we start a day before the show starts. We get our tent up and we start taking donations that day. And then we are able to leave our tent erect overnight so we don't have to put it up the next morning. So we get to come in a little bit later, usually around 7:30. And then before probably 8 a.m., we've got people coming up with their grocery bags. Is this where we give you the cans?
Hey, they wanna they wanna be first in line. Yeah, have 'em they're on a mission, and I remember, like I mean, as I've gotten older, like, I'll still donate cans, like, I don't need to be in the front of the
Yeah.
line or anything like that,
Yeah.
but definitely when I was younger, I was, like, there super early, like, way earlier than I needed to be. I mean, wear sunscreen, but obviously, standing there roasting in the sun, just waiting to go in and, like, very excited, and then they open the gates, and all the kids are just running, and it's, like, an amazing sight to see. Remember seeing so much information starts getting thrown at us as we get closer to the Warp Tour dates. So I remember seeing like, oh, we're having a merch pop up, down the street from the venue for these dates, and oh yeah, Feed Our Children Now is going to be there. So that's like a really good idea to have that, like you said, to kind of get rid of the traffic and
Mhm.
also give people an opportunity to donate. Like maybe they're not even going to the Warp Tour and they just want to donate cans and get merch and go about their day. Like maybe they're not getting a chance to actually go to the tour, but this is a good way to not only volunteer in some way, give cans to the kids, but also they can get merch and they can support the Warp Tour and it's more accessibility. That's the theme of this,
Yeah.
can kind of be in that way. Yeah, exactly. Has any of the bands kind of reached out and like either talked with you guys about the organization or wanted to help in some way?
Yeah, yeah. We worked with several bands and artists over the years. It's changed a lot just over the years, and obviously people have blown up, and it's kind of just become this crazy thing. Dom Youngblood, he worked with us. I think it was 2018 or
Oh,
2019. Obviously, he's huge now. He's
yeah.
Grammy nominated, and so that's really cool. But he had contacted us and wanted to get involved. We have some tried and true who are kind of always on the forefront and they're true Warped veterans like the Maine. We love them. They've helped us, for years as far as donating boxes and
Oh,
they've always kind of been involved with us and obviously they pick at the lines in the morning. So it's easy for them to come over and say hi. They typically will tweet for us or not tweet anymore, I guess. They'll update socials, with our information, just kind of getting the word out there.
I'll post it on
But
MySpace. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, Escape the Fate is really great too. Craig, we love Craig. Craig took an interest in us and,
Yeah.
DM'd us and was like, let's do something together. So there's definitely been a
Oh,
few who,
really stand out.
yeah, that they don't, they're, let's not announce it, but let's, give me a megaphone and I'll yell at kids or I'll take a can or, whatever. And they're just doing it to do it. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. First of all, I want to say that in almost every single episode I've done of this, the Maine has been mentioned in some capacity. Whether, like, last episode I was interviewing somebody and we were talking about their fan engagement in relationship with fans, and just people have always like talked about how kind they are in, like, either to their fans or the way that they go about conversing with people, or now with the nonprofit organizations, like you said, picketing. Like, I remember them like doing that at DC last year, and they were kind of like, I saw Pat like walking around with the sign saying like, oh, the Maine's gonna be playing at the state. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're taking me back right now to the
Right?
the
That
early
my
aughts
first
right
couple of
now,
Warped
like,
Tours, they were out there with their sign, the CDs, do you wanna listen to this?
yes.
They're the
That's
same. They're
amazing. Yeah.
exactly the
So
same.
shout out the Maine again. They are, I feel like everyone loves them. I have not heard any, like, not even any neutral things about them. Everyone just loves them so much. So
Yeah.
shout out to them. And also, just, I feel like having a band endorse a nonprofit just really helps kind of elevate what you're trying to do and your mission and everything. Like, when you see a band on stage wearing a shirt that maybe said, like, Feed Our Children Now, or they're up there talking about it, I think that that makes people want to be more involved. Like, oh, hey, like, my favorite band, Craig from Craig Mabbitt loves Feed Our Children Now. I love his band. Why not go help them out? And that just
Yeah.
really helps kind of get people more involved and raise awareness about what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And so,
absolutely my favorite thing. I think we're all kind of like Warped Tour kids though. Like I know Craig and all of the guys in the main, they grew up going to Warped, just before they
mhm,
played. So it definitely feels like we're all kind of just walking the same walk. So knowing that they're
yeah,
there to kind of help and look after everything and talk about
yeah,
us, because that's what we need. We need people, we need the accessibility, we need the visibility, we need people to know that it's not that hard to donate. It's easy. It doesn't have to be inconvenient, and it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
yeah. Huge, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, like, they grew up going to Warped Tour, like, they're just like us. They exactly. They're 1000% just like us, just loving the music and loving the causes and everything. And I feel like I'm so appreciative of having bands and artists to kind of look up to and have that kind of inspiration where they care about
Yeah.
something. And it's really inspirational to see them really caring about, like, nonprofits or a specific cause, and using their platform in that kind of way to bring it to light.
Yeah.
So, it's awesome.
Whenever we were younger and we were, running to the front of the line and trying to get
Mhm.
barricade and we
Yeah.
were just spry, just trying to get out there. I will say within the last year that we did everything, there were so many people because now obviously us millennials we're a little older. We've
Just a
slowed
little
down a
bit.
little. We're still out there. We're still out there, but we have slowed down. The number of people that we had come through going in at 4 or 5 o'clock, they're going to see the headliners. They're playing the long game. They're not going to get up early and bake in the sun, but they still came
Yeah.
by and donated to us, knowing that doors opened 5, 6 hours ago. But they were like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's Warped Tour. Of course we're going to bring it. It was the reason that we stayed set up longer than we usually do. We usually are done just after lunchtime, just because I love you if you wanna donate, but I can't, offer you early entry anymore. The doors are already open. So we
Yeah.
don't typically take donations after that. But we had so many people, elder emos, just kind of rolling in a little bit later in the day, still donating. I was like, you can have a
Yeah.
wristband. It's not gonna do anything. It's pretty, but thank you. Thank you for
Your
donating.
souvenir.
Definitely that means a lot that people still think of us in that way, even though there's no benefit to them at that point. The doors are already open. Really, we really are just ingrained in the mentality of, like I said, lay out your clothes, get your sunscreen, get your cans. It's so cool.
No,
It's
that's
so
like
cool.
yeah, that's amazing. It's funny. Yeah, I think it was one of the dates last year. I forgot my cans and I was like, "Here's $5." I'm like, it was already open. I was like, I don't need anything. I think, like, for us, like you said, for us millennials, it's just like the like how reminiscent it is of our past, and like a
Yeah.
little bit of like the nostalgia factor of like you said, grab your sunscreen, get your water bottle, and get your cans, and that like you're going to Warp Tour. Those are the three main things that you need: sunscreen, water, cans. That's it. That's all you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. Yeah, exactly. Do you see Feed Our Children Now like expanding it anyway, or are you guys like keeping it pretty like just the way that it is now, kind of tighten it and everything?
I don't know. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of
Okay.
people on our team. Like I said, we were born of kind of a youth empowerment mentality. So we definitely have a lot of young blood who have a lot of ideas. If it's feasible, we would love to grow what we have. It's always been kind of a dream of mine and of Lana's to grow this to as big as it can sustain itself, basically, just because
Yeah.
the need is there and we have people that want to help and we have people that want to donate, and so why not make the change? So definitely yes, we don't have anything in the works yet, but
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But also, thinking about the future and what you can do, expand into like clothing donations and we dress our children now. Something like kind of different sectors, like different parts around. Because you said people that you work with are located in different areas around
Mhm.
um, the U.S. You can kind of do different pop ups and kind of get people more involved, which is what I was going to ask you next. For someone who is listening or who is familiar with Feed Our Children Now, either from Warped or from like word of mouth, people talking about it. If somebody wants to help, what's a simple way that they can get involved? Obviously going to Warp Tour, bringing their cans, going to the pop up, bringing
Mhm.
donations as well. But when and that's not happening, like what are some ways that people can get involved in that particular way?
So I will say for all dates of the 2026 Fans Warp Tour, we are currently accepting volunteers. There is a link tree in our bio on Instagram, Feed Our Children Now, and our volunteers are typically with us morning through just after doors. So it's like an 8 a.m. to 11 or 12 thing, and
Yeah.
just take cans and take donations and hammer it out. It's very busy for a long time and then nothing, because everyone's inside. Really, it's less about us and more about floating our charity partners. So, every charity
Mhm.
partner that we have that's local to Long Beach or DC or Orlando, making sure that they're supported throughout the year.
Mhm.
They obviously need volunteers much more than we do because we're only really active for Warp Tour. Versus
Yeah.
them, they are active and in need all the time, especially with us commuting and kind of traveling for these dates. And then we're working with charities that are based in the cities that we're going to these festivals at. So if anyone that is attending is local to Long Beach or DC or Orlando or any of these cities, go to our charity partners. They have, literature, they have their branding and their tent. They always come out with us and they need the help more than we do. We kind of just facilitate the food drive, but they're the kind of the true
Mhm.
soldiers of it as far as distributing the food and doing what they can just to go to bat for their community. We ourselves typically don't need very much. It's typically just the dates of Warp Tour. But if anyone has any ideas for fundraisers or coat drives, shoe drives, food drives, our DMs are always open. We love making connections and doing new events whenever it makes sense. We are volunteer based. So if you have, 10 people and you want to do a canned food drive at a Turnstile concert, send us a message. Like, we'll figure it out. We know enough people, we know enough managers, we can hopefully work something out. But by and large, we don't need the help outside of Warp Tour. It's just the charities and pantries that we work with, they need the help. And so I would just
Mhm.
say, go to them, pass it to
Yeah,
them.
find local charities, yeah. And they'll be tagged in your socials, right? The
Mhm.
different,
Yeah.
donation partners and everything, so people can just click on that, their profiles, and they can interact with them and find ways to help or volunteer as well. Because like you said, that's like a year-round thing. And so, finding charities in your that are local to you, that are accessible, that you can kind of help year round or when you're not just going to Warp Tour and kind of wanting to do more. Because I feel like people always want to do more once they get that little taste of like being involved in something.
Yes.
They're like, "What else can I do?" Like, people need food, but they also need clothing. They also need different supplies for, school supplies. Maybe different schools need the teachers need supplies or something like that. There's always people that need more than what they have or what they're kind of given. So, yeah, I mean, that would be great to have different pop-up donation areas in different spots. I hope that comes from this, definitely.
Yeah.
And then where can we find you on, like, your socials and everything?
All of our socials are Feed Our Children Now. That's it. Every single
That's it.
platform we are on. We are not very
And then
active on TikTok. We need to
yeah.
get more active on TikTok, but Instagram by and large is, um, we have an incredible graphic designer, Ivy, and she makes all kinds of things for us. She is constantly posting stories and other posts. And she's really really active on Instagram. That's definitely the best way to reach us. I think that between me and Ivy, we're both on Instagram pretty much always.
It's little addictive, and you wanna stay up to date on everything, especially as, like, the tour is approaching. You
Yeah.
wanna make sure that you're keeping up with everything. And you'll be at all of these particular dates, right? You're gonna be, like, out there in the in the forefront at all
I'll
the
be
all the
on the
warp dates?
forefront, just thugging it out. I will be out there, sunscreen, sun hat, and all.
Okay, sounds good. Because, yeah, I'll be there. I'm going to DC, Long Beach, and Orlando, so I'll see you there.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited. It's a lot to do, but it'll happen. We'll get it done.
it'll be worth it. Definitely. And then do you guys have, like, a website, or if you have volunteers, you just want them to you said you had a form?
Yeah, there's a Google sheet that we use that's in our link tree, in our Instagram bio. We
Oh,
do have a website, feedourchildrennow.org. We also have our parent website, creativemoneyworks.org, which is our nonprofit name. Feed Our Children Now is technically a program of Creative Money Works, but we have a couple nonprofit initiative or programs that we do. Feed Our Children Now just grew legs and has its own life and is kind of our biggest
yeah.
one. But yeah, feedourchildrennow.org.
Okay, perfect. And then if people wanna get involved with the other, nonprofits and what's going on, they can do that too. Maybe they wanna dabble in the different sectors of things and
Yeah.
see what their specialty is maybe. So, you never know. But, thank you so much, Tara, for being here with me today. I appreciate it. I'm excited we got
Absolutely.
to
Thank you
finally
so much
chat.
for having me. This has been so fun. I love reminiscing about Warped Tour and then just talking about it happening again and where it's going to go because
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for the platform. I love talking about our charity and our charity partners. So if you want to volunteer, hit that link tree.
I might. Yeah, exactly.